You are watching Xirtus.
Well, okay, so then, life started getting weird for you. You got into doing, I mean, you already were in the TV world, which I argue is kind of weird, but that's our Aboriginal
It is
lifestyle.
weird.
It's our
It
berry
is weird,
bush.
but I'm a creative person. Like I've always like been drawn to like, creating something. And that's why like, man, I was creating a show for cheaters and like, you know, doing all this stuff, making decent money, and like I thought that was fun. But dude, nothing is more fun than what I'm doing, creating my own content on my own, having the freedom, and the fact that it's like people are watching it now. It's just like it kind of blows my mind. The only thing that will stop me, Andreas, is if I get deplatformed. As long as I don't get deplatformed, there's no doubt in my mind that I will grow bigger and I will be able to entertain people. Because we live in a society of political correctness, so there's a huge void for me who's not politically correct. And I think it almost makes it easier to be successful in this, politically correct atmosphere.
Yeah, oversaturated, undersaturated. But you just said the real scare. I mean, like, so we live in this like communist Soviet Iron Curtain, Silicon Curtain kind of world. Do you think how in danger? I mean, we've made several choices in this episode tonight to be careful of what we said. How
Yeah.
in danger are we of being deplatformed, or is anybody being deplatformed? Yeah.
I think really, I think it's huge. I mean, you like Trump should have never let Alex Jones go, and then he got deplatformed. He should have fought for that. They should have created some sort of protection for themselves on the internet. So I think it's a high possibility that once you get, you don't even have to have a huge following, but if you're effective in your message, getting it out there, and you're an actual threat. I mean, look at all the doctors that get kicked off Twitter constantly. I mean, Peter McCullough is like, shadow banned hardcore. You can't even tag him. Robert Malone. After Zelensky just died, they deleted his account. Like, you can't even be a medical licensed doctor and have an opinion on the internet.
God, yeah. I mean, but also in terms of people dying all around us, do you think we're safe, or do you think it's literally just a deplatforming thing? They don't even need to worry about us, or I mean,
Do you think we're safe on the internet?
like,
No,
no,
I don't think so.
are we safe in real life? At this point.
I don't know. And that's why like this abortion thing kind of blows my mind to see. Like I think it was Elizabeth Warren. She had a viral tweet today getting mad at the abortion help clinics. The clinics that like, if you go in there pregnant, they give you an ultra scan and they tell you not to get aborted. And she was talking about how in her state those are 3-1. And she's like, those places are evil. It's like, how are they evil? They're trying to like help, women. And if the woman doesn't have financial means, they'll like get you in a setup where they can help you financially. And I guess my point being is like, they don't care if people die. They actually want people to die in this weird way. And so that's why, yeah, I mean, you and I can be taken out in 2 seconds and the machine keeps going. Like nothing changes. When Kobe Bryant dies, the biggest basketball player in the world, nothing changes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everybody still goes to McDonald's. Everybody still whatever watches Dancing with the Stars or whatever crap is, camp or, popular at the time. Nothing really changes. So death to these people, they love it. I think they actually like it.
Man, I mean, I worry so much about the future. The technology, you were saying earlier, deal might not be going through with Elon Musk. Is there? We've been on Odyssey. We're on a couple other platforms. What solutions exist to avoid being deplatformed? I mean, what do we do?
Yeah, I think the internet's big enough where you can always go to. So I think what is it? Breitbart said it. Andrew Breitbart is that there's going to be internet ghettos, and that's what it is. I know, seriously. And Odyssey's an internet ghetto. Like, yeah, people can find you if they want to search for you, but most people want the ease. They want the YouTube chat. They want the biggest and the baddest. So it's different. You don't get to play on the same level field. Like, yeah, you can obviously create edgy content, and there's a place where you can probably platform and host it. Like, that's all possible. But once again, that's an internet ghetto. That's not the internet, suburbs or the internet, whatever, the internet heaven, whatever you want to call it, the internet earth. I don't know. It's just, it's an internet ghetto. And that's what they're going to do. They push us into the darkest corners of the internet where people can't really see it.
They give Elon Musk so much credit. And, I think some people wonder, like, is he doing this because he's this altruistic superhero who loves America, like, for freedom?
No, dude, he's an idiot. Elon Musk is not a good guy. I mean, we try to act like he is. And I think he's better than a lot of people. I'm not saying he's the worst guy ever, but like, he loves transhumanism. He wants to be able to put a microchip up your butthole that you can park your Tesla by thinking it with your brain. Like, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, the connection of the human and the cyborg and the computer. And he wants to link us up as soon as possible. So for me, that's transhumanism. And I think that, like, I'm not even some really religious guy. I do believe in a creator, obviously. I think organized religion is actually kind of bad in a sense. I know that's weird, but because it's used as a weapon. But I guess my point being is like I'm really anti-transhumanism. I think that's like I said earlier, I referenced this speech twice talking about in New York how because of climate change, people probably will live in pods with a headset and intubated, and they'll be able to live in a vanilla sky where like you and I might be poor here, but in the fake world they can have as much money as they want. They can be married. They can have all their dead loved ones that they, never saw. They can have a 10-inch dick. They can have all the stuff that they want. And people will go and do it, Andres, because their life is so bad here. So it's like, that's why you talk about the future being bleak. I think they are purposely trying to make things bad here so that they'll go plug into a computer. And the problem is once you plug into the computer and you get intubated into the machine or whatever, you're dead. You know what I mean? You think you're alive, but you're dead.
Man, and that came out about his 2 twins born just before his kid recently. Like he had some other kids that were completely. There's a whole spectrum
with an executive, like with it. Well, I'm just saying, like with somebody that works there, and then it came out that he like showed his dick to that girl on the plane. And at first, I wanted to like kind of go against the media and not believe it, but now I think he is kind of a perv. He's probably banging every chick. He probably is horny. And God bless his soul. I get it. Like you're the world's richest man. You want to get laid. At least he's not with children. And that can't be the same said for Bill Clinton and a lot of the people on the Lolita Express. So, dude, it is what it is.
Glenn Maxwell arrested for trafficking children to nobody. What's going to happen with that? Is it just? There's two schools of thought. So I get interviewed by National Enquirer a lot. They just like me. They use me as a contributor for that. No, it's really cool that they use me all the time. But they were telling me, and I was, they gave me a quote recently on an article. I don't know if this is true, but they said they're giving me inside information. And, you can't ever 100% trust Inquirer, even though I like them. But, it is what it is. But they're saying that Ghislaine Maxwell is going to turn on a bunch of big people that she's probably going to get. This is what she's saying. She's going to try. And they said Jeffrey Epstein probably tried the same thing before he died, to probably tell on people on that list to get some sort of leniency from their, sentencing or, better treatment or some whatever it is. But they're never going to let her tell on the people because then they'd have to say, oh, well, Bill Clinton or even Donald Trump maybe, or even, who knows, Chris Tucker, I think was on there. I mean, there's just a lot of big, powerful people that they don't want to drop the dime on. And I think that's why I think it's pretty obvious Jeffrey Epstein definitely 1000% killed himself. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, people even with half a brain realize what really happened there, God, I mean, so the Epstein thing's crazy also with cloning, right? Because Epstein was all about cloning, and he's got girls that were saying, yeah, he had like cloning.
The New Mexico ranch.
Dude, and the Caribbean thing with the French islands, because he was involved with Clonade. And so they're supposed to be like, what do you think? How far along is that? The French government said they had super soldiers and talked about in vitro therapy. That sounds a lot like cloning. China has that too. Are we living in a world with clones?
I don't know, maybe because they can clone your pet, supposedly like you can have like a pet and then, but I'm saying let's say you have like a German Shepherd you love. They'll have the German Shepherd. They'll clone the DNA, but they can put it like in any other dog can carry it, which I'm like, what? You're telling me that like they can put a designer dog, they can clone your dog. They can do it with cats too. But like, I guess dog's a better example. So they can like have your German Shepherd born out of a pit bull without having any of the traits of a pit bull. So like that is cloning. That just blows my mind. So maybe they can do that with humans. It wouldn't surprise me. But like the fact that they say like Dave Chappelle is a clone or Eminem's a clone, I don't know, because how do you get a clone that's born at 38? You know what I mean? How do you get a clone that's, the baby doesn't come out that old. That
probably has to do with telomere extensions and hormones or whatever. Let me find. There's also the 3-parent baby thing. So there's like, so let's see, you get there are babies conceived starting in Mexico where there are 3 parents, their DNA is mixed. You can have 2 mothers that are lesbian or 2 gay men, and they can have the genes of a little bit of
both.
Of the carrier of the female that they bring into the relationship.
Well, so this is like an Arrested Development sketch where it's like the 2 cops that were gay, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we don't know. We just mixed our DNA up. We don't know who the dad is." And then the baby was black, and like one guy was black, one guy was white. The cops, so like you could tell whose baby it was. Is my point being, is obvious in that instance. But the fact that like it can borrow from both the people's DNA, I mean, that sounds impossible, but. I guess if you read it in the news, it has to be true.
Right, that's a good point. But no, I mean, they really are doing these things. They're doing genetic combinations, and you were just mentioning in vitro where they put the egg of the clone pet into another dog mother so that the womb of the actual dog can carry your clone. I mean, they're in vitro therapy. Women in the Caribbean.
Well, you've seen Andres, but you've seen have you seen Maury where the babies had twins from 2 different dads because they impregnated her fast enough? That's possible too. It's very rare, but that's possible. Where 2 different dads a woman can have twins with 2 different men's sperm. It's insane.
What a great sitcom, So okay, Michael Jackson. Remember he had clones, right? Or what happened?
I'm a Michael Jackson truther. Okay, so I just met a girl that I really like. She's really cool, and she's kind of like she kind of knows some celebrities and stuff. And I was having a nice dinner with her, but I was like, you know what? She's like, what conspiracies do you like? And I'm like, you know what my favorite conspiracy is? That Michael Jackson didn't molest Wade Robinson or James Safechuck, because if you look at their stories in Leaving Neverland, like Wade Robinson was the guy that didn't get the Cirque du Soleil show, the Michael Jackson experience that he wanted, and then like a month later he went and said all this stuff that Michael Jackson touched him, and he was cross-examined by California's top prosecutor twice and never cracked in court, said nothing happened. And then you have people like Macaulay Culkin that hung out with him all the time, and what's the other guy from the Goonies? Corey, I know his name. Corey Feldman. They both hung out with him, and they said they never even touched him, never did anything sexual.
I believe Corey. And it's a lie. There's no way. Yeah,
I don't believe it. And they, obviously Michael Jackson didn't have a childhood, so he suffered from arrested development. He probably was still like 6 years old.
However, have like a Neverland Foundation for children who were victims of human trafficking and molestation.
Yeah, and he was the first person to say. And he helped kids, and he was the first person to say the news was fake, before Trump was ever saying it. And then another thing is James Safechuck, the other guy in the HBO documentary, who the producer of that was like a total sketchball. He said that he got molested in the train station, and the year he said it happened, the train station was not only not built, but the architecture hadn't even drawn the plans for it yet. So their stories just had big holes in it. That maybe Michael Jackson did something, but he was investigated for 19 years by the FBI. They never found anything, and like all the allegations that he had child porn was done by a maid. Was one maid said that she saw porn, and then he ended up suing her, and she recanted her story. But the media doesn't tell you that, so I don't know. But then, like I said, this girl that has been a lovely dinner with, she said that it was actually another famous guy, not Corey Feldman, not as famous as Macaulay Culkin or Corey Feldman, said that Michael Jackson one time when they were peeing showed him his dick. But I don't know if he's just saying that or not. They said like he compared penises. So that kind of put a whole big hole in my story. She's like, wait, you don't think so? And she told me, and like I said, I'm hearing this third hand. It's very hearsay, but I was like, what happened? Did Michael Jackson touch him? She's like, no, but they went pee together, supposedly.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really believe it for a lot of reasons, and one of the things is, regardless of what's true, after he died, when the Neverland documentary or whatever came out, that and was discredited so much, and it's proven that the guys involved were liars, and they had to remove it from Netflix and everything else. They started removing his music regardless, because it already did the damage was done. So yeah. Michael Jackson.
Wait, did they take it off? I'm pretty familiar with it. Did they take it off Netflix?
Yeah, it was going to be this big.
No, I believe you, but yeah, because I remember that.
But I know it was this big thing. Accusations were false, and they proved that they were false. It was this huge thing. But regardless, the music, when they stopped playing it, the royalties stopped going into the dead man's nonprofit for children. So it seems more about stopping the nonprofit that helps children than it is about stopping this dead man. That's
wow. There's so many. Leaving Neverland debunked in 10 minutes. 25 lies from Leaving Neverland. I mean, all glaring inaccuracies. There's so many inaccuracies with it.
So that's the other thing. What about character destruction? How many people do we think of as villains because of the news that might have been trying to stop the human trafficking epidemic? And Michael Jackson might have been.
Well, dude, we know Trump was in the sewer saving all the children, dude. You know what I mean? I'm just kidding when I say that, but his character's been assassinated more than anybody. Even though he does like to grab him by the pussy, and even though like he did bang Stormy Daniels, I
thought he was just quoting. He was paraphrasing Marx. He sees them by their means of reproduction. That was a reasonable.
There you go. I like that. And, he is a Marxist, not. But listen, I think it's very easy for the media to label me because, I went after Dan Crenshaw and I called him a globalist recently. And they're like, oh, this guy's a far-right extremist, Proud Boy. I'm not. I'm just anti-establishment. I think both the left wing and the right wing are on the same bird and that we need to call out both politicians.
Xirtus.